Previously, we explored Leonarda Cianciulli's troubled childhood, her superstitions, and the fear that drove her toward extreme measures to protect her family. But fear turned into obsession, and obsession into murder. Now, let's uncover how she began selecting her victims and the chilling methods she used. The victim selection. Leonarda did not kill randomly. Her victims were mostly women she considered innocent but expendable, often elderly, vulnerable, and willing to trust her. She needed people who would not be immediately missed, and who would not raise suspicion if they suddenly disappeared. Her boarding house and social connections in Correggio gave her access to such individuals. She would invite women over under the guise of offering fortune-telling, advice, or employment. Some came because they were lonely or in need of help. Others because Leonarda had built a reputation for kindness and piety. Once they entered her home, Leonarda's meticulous planning ensured that no one suspected her of wrongdoing until it was far too late. The first known victim was Fortunata Latorre, a widow in her 40s. Leonarda had convinced Fortunata that she could foresee her future and protect her from misfortune, using her superstition as a lure. Leonarda asked Fortunata to participate in a ritual that supposedly would safeguard both of their families. In reality, Leonarda had prepared potent potions laced with arsenic and other toxic substances. Fortunata drank the concoction, and after some time she died quietly, leaving no immediate suspicion. Her body was buried in Leonarda's backyard, hidden beneath a carefully cultivated garden. Leonarda collected personal belongings from Fortunata, rationalizing her actions as necessary sacrifices to save her family. Rituals and superstition. Each murder followed a ritualistic pattern, blending superstition with meticulous planning. Leonarda believed that the more elaborate the ritual, the more protection it would provide for her children. She would often speak to her victims about destiny, fate, and protection, making them complicit in what they thought was a harmless tradition. Her actions were calculated. She studied their habits, their schedules, and their trust in her, ensuring there would be no witnesses. To outsiders, Leonarda appeared as the ideal hostess, a caring woman concerned for the welfare of her neighbors. The second victim, Giuseppina Pasquale, was an elderly woman known for her wealth and modest means. Leonarda lured her in with promises of spiritual guidance and protection. Once Giuseppina was inside her home, Leonarda used the same toxic potions and sedatives as with Fortunata. After Giuseppina's death, Leonarda began experimenting with methods of disposal. She learned that burial in the garden was effective, but she also started thinking about other ways to use the bodies, an idea that would later lead to her infamous acts of creating soap and tea, manipulation, and control. Leonarda's victims often trusted her completely. She exploited her charming grandmotherly demeanor to lower their defenses. She understood psychology well enough to predict reactions and manage any suspicion. Neighbors often commented on her pious nature, her dedication to her children, and her willingness to help anyone in need. This allowed her to operate under the radar, hiding her crimes behind a mask of kindness. Escalation. As the murders continued, Leonarda became bolder. Her confidence grew with each successful murder, and her rituals became more elaborate. She firmly believed that each act protected her children from death and misfortune. By this time, she had killed at least 3 women and had refined her method, from the poison to the disposal of bodies, and even collecting personal effects for practical and symbolic reasons. She had also started keeping records and notes, rationalizing her actions as necessary sacrifices. Psychological profile. During this period, Leonarda displayed clear signs of obsessive-compulsive behavior and delusional thinking. Her murders were not impulsive. They were premeditated, ritualistic, and executed with precision. Experts later argued that her superstitious beliefs were deeply intertwined with maternal obsession. Her fear of losing any more children drove her to view murder as a protective act, a horrifying inversion of maternal care. Community perception. Despite her crimes, Leonarda remained highly respected in her community. People sought her advice, visited her home for tea and guidance, and often discussed her charitable acts. The contrast between her outward persona and her secret life made her all the more dangerous. Neighbors recalled her attention to detail, cleanliness, and concern for the sick, never suspecting that beneath the surface, her home hid multiple graves and deadly secrets. Prelude to infamy. By the mid-1930s, Leonarda's killings were not just acts of superstition. They had evolved into a dark obsession. She had developed a ritualistic approach, a psychological thrill from controlling fate, and a sense of divine purpose. Her home had become a chamber of death, and her careful manipulation ensured that suspicion never fell on her. Little did the community know that Leonarda Cianciulli would soon gain infamy as one of the most notorious female serial killers in Italian history, the soap maker of Correggio.